everybody, this is International Master Camelia Ciobanu welcoming you to Publish Chess channel at the Endgame series. And in this video I want to show you a very nice study, Endgame study, in which White is supposed to find the checkmate in 2 moves. Well, White is obviously in decisive advantage. He's got the queen and the knight for 3 pawns. And Black's king is in the center. So how do we really find the solution to this exercise? Well, first of all, what jumps into eye is the fact that the king is in the center. Black's king is in the center and it is in Zugzwang, so the king can't make any move. And Black has only 2 available moves in this position, which are either pushing the pawn to e3 or taking with the pawn on c4. So we already know that we need to checkmate in 2 moves. So the first thing to see is how are we ready to respond to these 2 possibilities that Black has, these 2 candidate moves. Well, when the pawn would take on c4, where can we checkmate? And so we can imagine where the queen should be in order to be able to checkmate at the second move. So let's imagine the position with the pawn on c4. And so the king could go to d5 or to e5. So can White find a check in such a way as to take both those squares from the king? And so the closest square is the one on d6, right? So if the queen goes to d6, then the queen would check the king and take away the e5 square. And this would be a checkmate because the king could not go on the 2 squares where his pawns are, or on the other square, central square where the pawn is, and on c3 the pawn is controlling it, and also e3 is controlled by the king. So the king is in checkmate. Okay, so what we know by this is the fact that the queen should be able at the second move to go to d6 for a checkmate. Okay, what if Black would push the pawn to e3? In this case, the king would be exposed on a new line. Okay, the king is being covered on the 4th rank by the pawn. So when the pawn moves to e3, then the king gets exposed on the 4th rank. So my question is, can we picture a checkmate with the queen at the second move in this case? Well, it should be in such a way as to check the king and defend the knight on c4 and take away the e4 square from the king. So where could the queen be in this case? Well, we can see that maybe the queen could be on d3. That would be a checkmate. The king can't go to e5 because of the knight. But the problem with this is the fact that the queen can't be positioned on a square at the first move as to control both d3 and to be able to reach d6 at the second move. So this is not doable. So let's try and find another square for the queen. And as we already mentioned, the king will be exposed on the 4th rank. So if the queen could be transferred on the king's side, maybe which are the available squares, f4, g4, or h4, in this case, it would be a checkmate at the second move. Okay, and now let's try and find what is the best position for the queen to be placed on. Well, obviously, when we will move the queen from b5, if we are to go far away from the c4 square, Black will have another candidate move available, which is taking the undefended knight on c4. In this case, can White checkmate the king at the second move? So it should be a check on c4, and White should be able to take away these other squares from the king with the queen. And then we simply see that by bringing the queen to a4, we take away b5, b3, we check the king on c4 and take away the d4 square. So this would be a checkmate. So this being said, now we need to find the good spot for the queen in such a way to be able to go on a4 at the second move, on d6, and on one of the 3 squares available on the king side. And so since a4 is a white square, it's very easy because on the king side it should have the same color. So basically at the second move, white should be able to bring the queen on one of these 3 squares. And so this is the way we found the solution, because if we simply bring the queen to d7, can you see that the queen controls all those 3 squares? And now let's see black's possible moves one by one. So if the king takes on c4, the queen goes back to a4, and that is a checkmate. If the pawn takes on c4, the queen takes on d6, and that is a checkmate again. And if the pawn moves to e3, the queen goes on the king side, checkmate at the second move. So basically by bringing the queen on d7, we have such an ease to transfer that queen wherever it is needed, either on the queen side, center, or king side, with a checkmate in 2 moves. Well, I hope that you enjoyed this video and the way we came to find the solution, and I hope it will be useful for you in your own games. Have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you in the next video.